to start this call off, what we are looking for is we'd love to understand what ARDA's core mission is for the vacation ownership industry.
Peter, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. It's great to see you. It's always great to talk. It's even, as you might imagine, it's a passion of mine talking about the industry and talking about the trade association. So I'm excited about things. Yeah, I do think it's great for us to start a little bit, if you don't mind, with just who ARDA is and what we do. And the reason why I think it's a great place for us to start is not a lot of people know what a trade association is, what they do, what our valuable members like Concord can do to help, and how they interact with the rest of the industry and how they bring a benefit to everybody else that happens to be a member of ARDA. So we're fortunate at ARDA as a trade association who have been around for a little over 55 years, or just about 55 years now. And that's exciting to have that long history, and the vast majority of it has been there to represent the timeshare and vacation ownership industries. Our main mission is really to connect people within the industry, to protect the industry from a legislative perspective, which we'll chat about throughout our time together, and also a way for us to be able to affect the way people do business. And those are the things when you look at what we do and what our missions are as a trade associations, which are primarily legislatively focused. And a lot of people know that legislative focus. We're excited about all three aspects, including those in members, how we're communicating our message and what the industry is to the outside world, and also really how we're protecting people from the legislative perspective really is that big main focus. But the meetings and being a marketplace for the industry is big.
Let's stay on the legislative piece with a new administration coming in fairly, about 6 months in now. I mean, what are some of what are ARDA's key drivers and really priorities with this new administration and strategic initiatives to really move ARDA forward?
The new administration, each new administration when they come in, each new Congress when they come in, they all pose different challenges and opportunities for us. There's gray skies and there's lots of bright blue skies with no matter who's in. And we deal with the same thing in all 50 states. But we'll stick around and talk a little bit about the federal side because I think that's where we're seeing so much activity, including so much that goes on right now with the reconciliation bill and what that means, as well as a whole new set of policies, because that's really where so much of the work that affects us, that affects lending, that affects, say, for instance, loan collections, maintenance fee collections. We're looking so much right now on the regulatory side because each administration looks at things a little differently from an enforcement, from the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, from the Federal Trade Commission, from the Federal Communications Commission. There's a whole new set of priorities. Today, those priorities, while it does tend to go with a Republican administration, that they become a little bit more business friendly. This administration is even a little bit different because they aren't necessarily the traditional Republican viewpoint to regulation. So while we're seeing some easing of regulations in areas that don't directly affect the vacation ownership industry, such as EPA regulations, we do see regulations like the CFPB and really kind of taking a back seat as it has been over the last 20 years and such, or 10, 15 years as such a big consumer protection watchdog. That usually is seen as a sigh of relief to business. At the same time, it's a little unpredictable. The current administration, you never know what's going to happen from day to day. You don't know how that's going to affect the markets. And as businesses, we like certainty. We like to be able to tell our members, this is what you can expect for the next several months. It's a little difficult today. So for us, our priorities really, if we look at the real main priorities, from a vacation ownership, a timeshare sales side, it's protecting our installment sales tax treatment. That's a huge deal, and it's one that we work in large coalitions with our partners here in Washington, D.C. and other industries that might be affected. It's to make sure those regulations, those helpful bits of tax treatment, for instance, don't get caught up in this big, beautiful bill that we've all been tracking and seeing, which I know you've got some keen provisions in there that we're watching. Those are ones too that we may enter in coalitions to be able to help support things that are extremely important to Concord and all of our members.
With the federal side is very important, but also the state legislative. You mentioned we are ARDA is focused on all 50 states. In particular, are there any states that ARDA is focused on today that you're getting out ahead of to educate new state legislators, whether they're new or old, but that could have an impact on clients in specific states across the country.
We'll go with a few different states because each state has different flavors, both from a political climate and an importance to the tourism and hospitality industries. You've got states like Florida, we'll go polar opposites perhaps, Florida and Hawaii. Both are states that have incredible amount of importance to us. In Hawaii, there are no term limits for state legislators in Hawaii. So we have people, there's people there that I've known since the first day I started ARDA, my first time around in 2004 that I met, including Brian Chatz, who's a current U.S. Senator from Hawaii. There's a number of people in the legislature that have been very friendly to ARDA and the hospitality industry that we've had relationships for decades. For them, it's about educating on nuances, like what's new today, what are the issues du jour for them, but they also know exactly where we stand. We've had a chance to build a relationship. They know that we're great community partners, and it makes it a very, I will say, an enjoyable relationship when you know that you don't have to start over from square one with somebody each and every 2 years, because that's what it's like in certain areas where you have term limits. Now we kind of swing it all the way to Florida. Florida, we do have term limits. There are a number of friendly legislators that we've been around and people that might go from the House to the Senate that know our issues that we have to constantly keep educating. But there we've got a climate, for instance, a few years ago with the Champlain Towers collapse. That created an environment for condominiums and timeshares that all of a sudden changed the dynamic in a big way. It brought up an issue that we had never really saw coming, and we've always been very adamant in the timeshare world about what it's like to have reserves for maintenance fees. Those are things that we've always thought were extremely important. All of a sudden, they get thrown into the world of mandatory, that you can't waive those reserves as a board member. And what's kind of happened since then, Peter, has been an education effort that has taken us every single year having to do our own piece of legislation, because whenever there's a fix for the problem, whenever we have a situation where they've determined this is what's right for all condominiums, including timeshare condominiums, we spend countless hours trying to educate why that doesn't work for timeshare. Why is it a bad thing to try to force 4 in-person meetings a year for a timeshare association board? You realize these people don't live here. This isn't their homestead. For the most part, they're not living in Orlando, for instance. And bringing them back to Orlando 4 times a year to have an in-person meeting about an association that's being really mostly managed by a management company, it doesn't provide the protections you are looking for versus a homestead. So we do have a big job to educate. Each state, it's a little different as to what the education process is. And as you might imagine, each state, we sometimes get met with a little bit of different attitude, all depending on the legislature and what they're trying to accomplish.
From an educational standpoint, how does ARDA educate its members when you're going out and working with these state and federal legislators? How do you bring that back to our community and our members from a communication and just overall consumer education standpoint?
We have really a well-rounded approach, strategy to education. One of the first places it starts is with the people, our members, and timeshare owners themselves. If you take a look at the people in the state, the business they do, maybe we'll just stick in Florida for a second because we have a lot of companies and developers who are headquartered in the state of Florida. A lot about it's making it personal, understanding the local impact that our members have. What are they doing in the town? How are they supporting their local communities, and why are they great corporate citizens? The second, and probably our most effective tool when you're looking at educating somebody for the first time about who we are, is the research that we do and really presenting the research. So we have in ARDA, we've got 3 different organizations under one roof. We have ARDA, which is the trade association that most people know about. We have the ARDA Resort Owners Coalition, which is our advocacy arm that really protects the interests of timeshare owners and the timeshare product, making sure it's working the same way when some today as when you bought it maybe 20 years ago. The third part is the ARDA International Foundation. That is their true education arm that does all of the valuable research, which we offer for free on our website, that people can understand not only the economic impact of the industry, get all of the statistics and the numbers, how many resorts are there in the United States, how many resorts might be in a particular state of interest, what's our economic impact, what are those total sales numbers, which are $10.5 billion this past year in 2024. You also have owner data and information. We do a timeshare owner study every year. It provides us with, for instance, how satisfied are timeshare owners with their timeshare experience? And what was that, Peter? Did you ask me what that number was? It is 90% if you're interested. So really 90%, 9 out of 10 owners say that their ownership experience has been good or better. So for us, there's a really great story to tell. You tell that story through education, but the education has to be backed up by facts. People want to know about your industry, and they want to have facts from a real verifiable source. And that's how we partner with folks like E&Y, Deloitte, and others, and some other sports and leisure who does what we have now, a monthly vacation ownership sentiment index. Take 500 timeshare owners, take 500 travelers, survey them about the same questions, and find out how they feel about their travel product. And you get some great responses. You get some great insights, providing those to the media, providing them to legislators, providing them to local officials. All this is part of building the overall brand of the vacation ownership industry.
Well, I'm part of that 90% of very happy timeshare owner for me and my family, and just staying on consumer advocacy, because you do hear a lot of negative press around timeshares in general, and I can't disagree more with that sentiment. But from a consumer advocacy standpoint, with ARDA and ARDA Rock and AIF, what are your goals and initiatives to continue to promote timeshare, vacation ownership, travel as very positive from a consumer sentiment standpoint?
Yeah, as the voice of the industry, and that's really how we view ourselves at the trade association, because we are the chief cheerleader, you could say, about the industry, making sure people understand the benefits. We have, over the last several years, tried to find different ways to get the message out. It was either through campaigns, like we did a big share time off campaign that we did earlier this year. We really were encouraging people not only to take their time off, but we had a big campaign and contest for people to enter to be able to win a month's worth of timeshare vacations, so that way they could experience the benefits of timeshare. We also see that there is a vocal minority of people, including those perhaps on radio airwaves and others, that make a lot of accusations about the industry, make claims about the industry. And when you dig down to what those claims are, they of course ignore all of the benefits that you and I as timeshare owners, Peter, know as to why we vacation this way. We vacation because there's more space. We vacation because of the flexibility of the product, the ability to make reservations all around the world, whether it's through exchange or it's in the resort system that you might own in. Yeah, I have a family. I think it's not a vacation if we're all piled into one small hotel room with one bathroom. My wife usually looks at me and says, we're going to need a vacation from this vacation if that's what we do. So for me, I look at all that. I also am very much comfortable with the brands and the hospitality management companies that we have. The professional management of resorts make such a big difference. These are things that we're trying to find creative ways to get out there, both on the internet and through social channels, through traditional media channels, and a lot of in-person education. I think I probably educated more people, unfortunately for them, who are sitting next to me on a plane about the benefits of timeshare than they think they were probably going to learn that day. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. It's difficult because it's so many messages out there about travel, and we see so many different messages today about travel, whether or not people feel comfortable travel internationally or they travel domestically. But there's one thing about the timeshare industry, which I think I found over the 25 plus years I've been around it. We always have a response and an answer, no matter what the time of year, no matter what the economic conditions. you may not be able to fly overseas. That may have been something maybe during the pandemic. Well, people got in their cars and drove. When everything opened up in the world and they wanted to travel internationally, well, there was exchange opportunities abound for people to travel to thousands of properties all over the world. Now, if it might be difficult economic times, if someone might be struggling a little bit, well, if they've got a paid off timeshare and they paid their maintenance fees, it doesn't cost them anything but the gas and a little bit of time off to get to a resort within where they live, where they can enjoy time with family, which is usually much needed relaxation time, especially if you're going through stressful times. So there's always seems to be an answer, a reason why people travel. And that's why we run occupancy levels in the industry 15, 20% points higher than what you see in the traditional hotel world. People are committed, they love to travel, and they understand the benefits.
From your perspective and artist perspective, what are the most significant positive trends impacting vacation ownership and really the broader hospitality industries today? From let's start with a developer standpoint.
Okay, from the developer standpoint, I think one of the biggest trends that they've been able to capitalize on, which is the demand for experiential travel. That's probably been the biggest over the last 5 years that I've seen, is that consumers are looking for more from their vacation than just great accommodations. Because once they've been timeshare owners like you and I have been for a long time, we understand the value, we get it. And just like we found through our vacation ownership sentiment index, timeshare owners overwhelmingly expect more from their timeshare vacation than just a regular vacation. And that makes sense. I mean, they're used to all the things that we've talked about as far as why a timeshare vacation is so fantastic. But outside of the resort, once you get outside of that resort or even at the resort, what am I going to do once I get there? How am I going to create those memorable experiences that we see so many people being excited about? Today, I even saw a little bit of a clip about how the people at the Louvre are having a difficult time. They're almost shutting the doors now because it's become such a popular tourist attraction. So many people are excited about that experience that they're overwhelmed as staff. Well, you can see this desire for people to experience new things, to be part of something new, is high as high as ever. And if you look at the way our members are providing experiences, whether it's sporting events, we've got some great golf tournaments that are sponsored by members. We have phenomenal concert series that people get access to that they may never be able to have access to a 50 or 100 person venue to see an amazing country music star or rock star. They have culinary experiences that can take place right inside their own timeshare unit because they have a full kitchen where someone can cook. There's so much for people to be able to do. And the developers in our industry have been on point with providing those type of experiences and doing so in a very integrated way through people's ownerships, that it just comes right along with or something you can book directly with your ownership points.
Would you agree that one of the largest fundamental shifts in timeshare over the last decade has been the member experience?
Yeah, I think it's been the member experience, and that member experience has really sort of evolved because of the flexibility of the product that people now, and that might be one of the biggest misconceptions that we're fighting out there today, is this misconception that timeshare still, I have to go back to the same resort, same time, year after year. Well, the products of today, the systems of today provide that maximum flexibility, the ability to travel 1 day or 10 days or 20 days. That makes that membership experience that much better. I think we've also seen the operators in the industry, as there has been consolidation, which I know you're very familiar with, and as people build up these larger systems, especially the systems that are involved in some of the top-notch hospitality companies in the world, that when they have that type of eye to a customer, that the membership experience becomes better, that people are looking for additive ways to make it so that way people see value. This is all really enhancing that overall membership experience.
Conversely, what do you see as the key challenges to the timeshare industry today?
I'll give the challenge as both what I think is the most exciting part going forward, and it's also probably the most difficult thing we deal with today. That's technology. Travel today is really a technology business. I mean, Concord is in the technology business. You really are. It's the software, it's the billing, it's collections, it's communications, it's the ability to meet a customer on their level, making them comfortable to do business with you, making it easy for them to do business with you. Our members are now seeing that challenge front and center. We look at some of the biggest in this industry in the travel space, like Booking.com, Expedia, Travelocity. You look at the people, Airbnb, launching platforms and new platforms on a regular basis to make it easier for people to integrate their products into their lives, to meet them, on their phone to be able to do business. This is the biggest challenge I see as the industry, as it's always been somewhat, well, for decades, I think technology was an afterthought. A reservation system was good enough. People could transact on the web browser. They're going to be fine. Yeah, they can still call in and do reservations, but that's okay. They're just making 1 or 2 reservations a year. However, when everything else in our lives is all done on our phone and everything else, as I explore the same way so many other people are, how does AI, how does that technology work in our world, and how do we take advantage of all of its benefits? That experience needs to be brought into the ownership experience. For them, they see timeshare as a vacation product. We sell timeshare as a vacation product, but also as a real estate product. And that is something that doesn't always translate. Real estate and technology are not always, they don't always mesh. And so for us to take this real estate product and turn it into a hospitality experience, technology's got to be there to be able to do it. And there's some really neat things that our members are doing right now to really up their game to make it happen. But it's going to be the challenge to keep it going for years to come, because as we know, these technologies change almost monthly, it seems like. So how are they going to do it and keep themselves in business for a long period of time and meeting the customer expectations? That's the big challenge ahead.
So with technology being a challenge, it's also an opportunity. And from ARDA's viewpoint, what is that opportunity to engage the customer, from the developer, from the reservations, from the servicer, somebody who's just processing payment? What's the opportunity that this industry has in front of them to take advantage in this new technology focus driven environment?
I can answer that in a couple of ways, Peter. I think one, the first opportunity really in the technology driven is when we're starting to appeal to a younger audience. That younger audience is the ones that we know, that Gen Z and millennial audience that happens to be over 50% of all timeshare owners today, and 2/3 of all new purchasers come from those generations. So when you look at that, you realize you're looking at generations that, especially the millennials, really don't remember days where there weren't mobile phones. And we're not talking about the ones that I grew up with, like a StarTAC phone that didn't text or otherwise. It worked really well with the old Nokia phones I dealt with in the late 90s. They're dealing with the power of computing in their hands. So the expectation again is that they're going to use these technologies and gravitate towards products that use technology and integrate it. So when they're looking for instance, if they're looking at how do I pay my maintenance fee, or how do I pay my loan statement, or how do I check them on something, the expectation should be it's the same way I do my car loan, or the same way I look at my bank account. I go to my phone, I click on my app, I see everything there I want to do. I want to make a payment. I'm ready to go pay my maintenance fee, make a payment on my loan. Oh, click, there I go. I've just auto enrolled. Click, there I go. I've made my payment. Oh, there comes my notification that tells me I'm a couple days late in doing so. A little bit of a reminder. How does that meet me in my world to be able to do so? These are all things that I should be able to do while I'm watching TV, or when I'm just sitting around and relaxing for a minute and take a few moments to catch up on my personal life. That's the opportunity, is how do we offer products and services along with it? What are things that enhance people's lives? How do you integrate with their lives so that way it's seamless? That to me is where a lot of focus of the developers and people in our industry. And also, I see that's where, move outside the developers for a second, Peter. If you're looking at folks like Concord, who are entrepreneurial companies that have technologies you're developing yourself, that's the big opportunity for so many companies now, because consolidation has its different effects. People see consolidation or can see it as a positive, negative, or both. I see it as an incredible positive. It will not only create economies of scale that are important, it will allow for companies who are entrepreneurial, fast, nimble, to be able to offer solutions that some of these larger companies are going to be much more interested in just gobbling up or buying as a platform than they are going to be developing themselves. Because the bigger they get, the bigger the projects get, the more difficult it gets to be able to implement or how longer it takes. A ready made product, a ready made service, a technology platform that they can just integrate seamlessly and do so in a quick manner. Those are going to be the people that are going to, I think, really move forward and advance in our industry.
One of the reasons why we're speaking today is because Concord was just recently added to the board as board representation, and Concord's very excited. I'm personally very excited to be part of the board. Been watching from the outside in for 15 plus years, and through consolidation, Concord and Equient have come together as one to continue to drive new technologies, new efficiencies for our clients. Concord touches a lot of both developers, HOAs, lenders in this space. With Concord's board representation, how do you see our involvement specifically contributing to ARDA's key drivers and strategic goals?
I see three main ways, and these are just the three that I have thought about recently. I'm sure there are many more. One, Concord is a Concord's a company along with Concord and Equient together that works with so many of our existing members today. And it's such a important part of their business. It's a customer relation side of their business. It's a data and information side of the business. It's a part of the business that's one of those areas that I look at as a critical area that tells us about the health of our industry. Yeah, you see things and trends that take place that are taking place within ownership bases, that are taking place within companies that can kind of like a doctor's report. It's a bit like taking the pulse of the industry. You've got a key indicator as to the health of the industry that can help not only ARDA with the work it does, but it can help with you on the board bring that information to the forefront and educate people in a faster way to be able to help them understand the business and maybe even their own business better than they know it, because they may not be the ones that look at all that data and information themselves, but they're going to be able to get it from you. I also see as a second point the expertise in the international space. And this is something that you and I have had a lot of conversations about the work you do outside of the US. There's significant work in Mexico and the Caribbean and beyond that's going to be so important to ARDA and its members. Yeah, I'm already starting to participate more, and I've always had an eye towards, say, Latin America and the Caribbean about the way that it affects our world, because the vast majority of the purchasers of products in Mexico and Latin America come from the United States. So you start looking about the issues and the things they see. Well, that's the start. Again, we start going across the border and looking at same type of trends analysis, same type of growth, same type of experiences. It lends itself right into Mexico. And that's a key place where when we looked at Concord and what it could bring to the board, that expertise is going to be huge. And third, it's thought leadership, Peter. I mean, you've been talking to so many of these folks. You have access and you communicate with so many CEOs and C-suite folks, and also operational people, because not all the great information comes from the C-suite. A lot of it bubbles up from all parts of the organization. All of those learnings are what I hope you bring to the table and are able to share when we start having these conversations at the board level.
Yeah, Concord is very excited to be part of that and share this information and share what Concord sees from a consumer standpoint. Not only your HOA billings, we touch over 1.5 million consumers on an annual basis. We touch over 500,000 installment loan holders inside of vacation ownership. So we have a very large presence inside of this industry, and just the U.S., the Mexico, the Latin America as a whole, even Canadian, we are well integrated into all of those um, classes of clients. So tell us a little bit about your relationship, ARDA and Amdetur, and what you guys are forming today.
We've always had, ARDA and Amdetur have always had a very strong relationship. I'd say in the past, it was different. It's evolved over time. I think a big reason why we've evolved is that, first of all, we've included two of the larger developers in Mexico onto ARDA's board itself, with Grupo Posadas and Royal Holiday being very active members of ours. We've also built strong relationships over the last several years with Amdetur, Acatur, and some of the other regional trade associations, and really showed up. I mean, part of it is showing a commitment, and I've kind of learned that over time. You can say one thing to support. It's another when you spend your time to do so. And my predecessor, Howard Dusbaum, the CEO of ARDA before, spent a lot of time going to Amdetur. As a matter of fact, I went to my first Amdetur conference back in 2004. It was a great experience. Happened to be the day that Mexico beat Italy in the World Cup. It was a little bit on the crazy side there at La Reforma there in Mexico City. But one thing I can say is that there has been a lot of openness to artist participation and ideas. We've been looking ways, and I think what we're going to be doing in the near future is looking to some new ways to work together. And we can share best practices. We share lots of information. Probably the next thing to do is do some research together. It's really to really size the markets to figure out exactly how big is the vacation ownership and loyalty program, vacation club programs as they call themselves in Mexico. How big is it, and really what does this industry look like together? And also that growing leadership for me to continue to build relationships with those key CEOs and key stakeholders in Mexico to understand the business and also to bring back some learnings. And Peter, you bring things back, I'm sure, all the time for what you see as trends in Mexico. We've seen product forms and types that I think a lot of developers here in the United States would love to offer. There are definitely some regulatory and tax hurdles to do so, but you start seeing people being creative and trying to figure out how to incorporate the parts of the product that people love in Mexico so much. How do we bring that into the United States? Because if we look at another one of the bigger challenges we have, which is evolving our product type. How are we going to make it from a product that lasts forever, it's in perpetuity, to perhaps a 10-year product, a 15-year product, a 20-year product? These have been challenges that have been presented to the industry for years. I think we're getting closer to some solutions. And a lot of those solutions, though, come from inspiration from our friends down south.
Advocacy is a major part of the timeshare industry, coming together and sharing those experiences and sharing really best practices. What are some of the key industry events that are coming up where thought leadership is being formed and being shared, as well as just overall policy and leadership and policy?
So we've got two great events coming up. We have our summer VIP meeting later in July. That'll take place in Middleburg, Virginia. That's going to be at the Salamander Resort, a phenomenal resort. We're going to be able to hear from some of our top legislative leaders while we're there. Former Congressman Katko is going to address the group. He was fantastic at our annual conference earlier this year. We asked him back for an encore performance. There's the people who can give you real insights into the industry and into politics. Really, really excited about what we're going to have with our Legislative Policy Forum in late October in Washington, D.C. We're going to have a chance this year. We haven't done this in a lot of years, but we're going to make our way to the Hill and actually hear and have a chance to talk with a number of senators and congressional members themselves to hear what they see going on. We're also going to have a reception where we'll probably have well over, somewhere between 50 to 100 members of Congress that'll be there. And it's our chance to tell our story. This is a chance for them to hear who we are. We don't do the same type of legislative fly-ins that, let's say, the realtors do. We're not going to send 10,000 people plus to the Hill for congressional member offices. But the power of ARDA, the power of our government affairs program will bring a significant number of senators and members of Congress to us for us to be able to have direct interactions and tell them about our industry. And you can't underscore how important that is, especially in these type of environments, because that's where people are going to know, well, geez, I didn't quite realize that about the industry. So the next time a real estate issue comes up or next time a issue relating to tourism comes up, we now know somebody who we can contact and we can get information from. And it's an important part of what we do at ARDA week to week because we have those same type of relationships with them and work with them all year round. So
As a member who's joined for the VIP and for the policy forum in the fall, otherwise known as Fall ARDA, to some of us veterans, those are two fantastic venues to share information and just share what's working well and where we can improve in other areas of our business. And then just a little bit about looking forward, springing forward to 2026. Can you share a little bit about what the goals are for the annual conference, otherwise known as Spring ARDA?
Yeah, we're again very excited about the conference we're going to have. It's one of my favorite locations at the Bellagio. That's going to be a great meeting. The focus of this particular upcoming conference, we're going to probably do a little something different because we've always had a few sessions on the international markets. This year, we're going to spend a full day. Really, that first day of the convention kicking us off is going to be all about outside of the United States. Kind of excited about it. From Latin America, South America, South Africa, Australia, we're talking about Asia Pacific, Europe. We're going to try to showcase vacation ownership and timeshare all throughout the world. And for me, that's exciting because it brings different people to the meeting than we might see all the time, different businesses, different developers, different ideas. And I'm really excited about that. We're also going to have, this is, as we look to 2026, we're going to have a number of new marketing campaigns coming out of ARDA, what we're going to be doing. So it'll be a chance for us to be able to showcase it. We're going to have, and I may have spoken to you about this before, but by then, we're ARDA's own insurance captive that is being established to be able to help independent resorts and developers and large developers alike the opportunity to be able to partake in a less expensive and more predictable property insurance solution. That's going to be something that we're going to see in 2026 and be able to talk about it. So we've got a lot of things. Legislatively, we will be, gosh, it's hard to think of it, but we're already ready and be running up against another election cycle coming up next November. So there's going to be a lot going on by the time we have our conference to talk about what's taking place from elections, where is ARDA stand on certain issues. And, it will be no lack of excitement and no lack of information that'll be shared. So excited about it. We'll be able to see and some of the things that are really important in your world, Peter, as we look at energy tax credits, as we look at solar and other forms of energy, alternative energy to fossil fuels. Those are going to be, I think, a more important place for us too. Because associations who are looking to find a way to be able to lower their costs, lower utility bills, how do they manage their maintenance fees? These are things that they're going to be considering, and they're still going to be very important, regardless of what happens over the next 6 months. This is something that's a topic that I believe we'll be addressing as an association as we move forward.
There's a lot of volatility in other associations other trade associations that Concord is part of. Beyond core vacation ownership, are there other opportunities for ARDA to collaborate or better said, cross-pollinate with adjacent trade associations?
One of the things we pride ourselves on, really at the federal level in particular, is the work we do in various coalitions. Because while ARDA has a significant presence from a political standpoint, in a world of Washington, D.C., you really have to be part of coalitions if you're going to get a lot of things done, especially unless you're just a massive individual corporation like Apple or others that have so much worldwide presence. So we spend a lot of time in various coalitions of real estate interests, people who are in the real estate finance world. I'm fortunate enough to sit on a board of the Real Estate Roundtable, which has some of the largest real estate investors in the world that participate and talk about issues that affect them from a real estate standpoint. I'm also on the board of U.S. Travel, and that gives us a chance to be able to look at how we work with other travel partners, what's happening in the world of travel, such as US, if you look at the airport security, if you look at the FAA, and we look at the issues that affect travel overall, these are things that we have a chance to have a voice on as well. And then we look at other industries. We've become very much aligned with the Community Associations Institute, CAI, which governs other types of community associations, oftentimes condo associations or other same type of issues that we have at ARDA, because we are a real estate product at the base. And that puts us into a different area of advocacy and education. And then that's one of the reasons why we spooled up this ROC TBMA conference we have to help educate timeshare board members and property managers on these issues that we have going on from a day-to-day basis. So there still remains other areas. Really there's never a lack, I think, of ideas, or we certainly know there aren't a lack of associations out there. But as more ideas come to us and more people point out other partnerships that make sense, we're always open for additional relationships in order to be able to accomplish our goals.
Well, Concord is very excited about help moving those goals along and the strategic initiatives and being part of this great trade association from the inside. And appreciate your time today, and look forward to the VIP event in July.
Well, Peter, we sincerely appreciate all the support that Concord has provided to ARDA over the years, and myself personally. I am very grateful for your friendship and your participation, and can't wait to see you in July.